usually come and cry with me. From St.Juste, in the village of St.Juste, which she used to say Choiset. She was born to Evans and Aurelia Funny Cauldron. Out of that wedlock came Harold, Marie, which is my mother, Alice and Unita, Matthew, Lena, and Stephen. She was married to Reginald Laurent, who is deceased, on December 27th, 1947. Excuse me, 1948. They had 9 children. Lucretia, yes, they were pretty busy. Which is deceased. Eileen, Bernadette, Jacinta, Virginia, myself, Julian, Peter, Andrew, and Prisca, who is also deceased. Her sons and daughters-in-law, Daniel Lando, Lloyd, Candace, and King. She left behind 21 grandchildren, 13 great-grandchildren. My mom, one of her favorite pastimes was to organize beach parties. She would get all of us together and all the neighborhood children, and we would spend the day on the beach just having so much fun. My mom was known as Auntie Mary to every kid in the neighborhood. She was the kind of aunt that every child dreamed of having. Marie, as Thomas told you earlier, was one of the most loving and caring mothers. But on the other hand, she was a strict disciplinarian. One day I remember disobeying my mother and being rude about it. She grabbed me. And it was not the look in her eyes that frightened me. It was what she said to me. She said, Tiboy, si jamais fait ça encore, moi ga poigner tête à ce tout poteau. The translation for that is, boy, if you ever do that again, I'm going to knock your head on every post in the wooden back of the house. I used to joke with my mom and say, Mommy, if we raised up in this country, you would have been in jail. She would reply, if I did not deal with you the way I had to, just maybe you would not grow up to be the man that you've been. My cute sister used to say, Mommy, you should have leave him alone because he didn't grow much anyway. The thing is, I knew my mom loved me. And the truth is, you couldn't tell who she loved more except for my last sister, who we all loved the same. She did so many lovely things around the home that just felt love. The tone of her voice, flowers, a touch. She always put her children ahead of her.
Yes, she did.
My mother never went to high school, but you wouldn't know. She wrote very well. She spoke very well, both the English and Patois. I have a master's degree, and the truth is, up to the day my mother died, I can't spell as half as good as her. My mom used to write letters for some of the people in our communities that were literally challenged. She even helped sometimes structure simple contract for those that could not afford a lawyer. She was solely responsible. You heard Thomas tell you about the property that my grandfather had bought, which the whole family lived on, which was, I mean, just a wonderful experience growing up.
Because could you imagine your cousin is your best friend and all the cousins and aunts and we all on that one estate going to pick mangoes together and breadfruit together and hide and seek. It was just wonderful growing back here. But we were about losing that property through some process that the government had where they were transferring private property into Crown land if you didn't go through some procedure. And it was my mother, solely because of her due diligence and her attention to detail, was able to save the family property. In terms of human relations and human behavior, she was as skilled as a trained psychologist. I could definitely give credit to my mother for my level of patience. She taught me that patience is a virtue, but it must be developed. Sometimes people ask me how I could maintain such calm when there is so much confusion, sometimes so much turmoil around me. And I could give credit to my mom. She always taught me to always put things into perspective. She said, never take a controlled situation and turn it into crisis. I should always do my very best, and after I am certain that I've done my best, just leave the rest to God. In 1964-65, somewhere thereabout, my mother attended the Seventh-day Adventist evangelistic meeting held by Pastor Josiah and Pastor McCullough. In that year, she decided to dedicate her life to Christ, and she became a Seventh-day Adventist. I remember I was a little boy, but I was very angry with my mother for joining the Adventist church. And yeah, I'll explain why. It was not because I wanted to be an acolyte or a priest, but that was around the time I was about to make my first communion. And if you remember, during those days, when the first boy had his first communion, it was like a wedding. They would kill the fattest cow. And it was just a big, big celebration and so much fun. And I looked forward so much to that. And then my mother changed shape, and then here goes my first communion. Strangely enough, it was my dad who never joined the church, or who didn't join the church, but he was the one that really gave me some level of comfort. At the time, or prior to that, my mother drank like an alcoholic, and she smoked like a chimney. And my dad said, you know, I may have been responsible for driving your mother to drinking. But Julian, the truth is, Seventh-day Adventists, they do not drink alcohol, they're not allowed to drink alcohol, they're not allowed to smoke. And if your mother joined the church, she will not be allowed to do that. And the truth is, she will live a healthier life, which means that her life will be much longer. And so after I heard that my mom would be with us for such a long time, you know, the feast no longer became a big deal for me. And I was happy. And my dad was right, because right after that, my mom lived for actually 89 years. My mom was like the Mother Teresa in the community. Marie Therese always opened her house to someone that needed a shelter. Every summer, we had visitors at our home. Sometimes, when students from out of town had no place to stay, she would always allow them to stay at our house. Every Sunday, my mom would cook enough food to prepare extra dishes, put them in a basket, and it was the chore of my sister Virginia, who had to go and distribute those dishes to some of the people that needed it. One day my mom had gone to visit an elderly lady, and she was apparently very, very troubled and disturbed by what she saw. She came home and she said, sometimes a mother would have 10 children. And those 10 children, she would take care of all those 10 children. In her old age, those 10 children is not able to take care of that one mother. I always remember that. The truth is, I'm so proud and so happy to let you know that that was not the case with my mother. My sister Bernadette, actually, my mom lived with her, and she was by my mom's side up to the day of her death. That deserves a round of applause. My sister Virginia and her husband, my mom lived with them for 7 years, up to the time that my sister moved to Atlanta. When we came to the conclusion that my mother needed 24 hours care, and apparently my sister could not handle the situation, there were talks that she probably would have to be placed in a nursing home. For a Caribbean person, that's like taboo because they really don't understand the care that you would actually get at a nursing home. But my niece, Sharon, she actually said, no way, I'm going to give up my bed and reorganize my furniture. My mom actually had taken care of Sharon. Here she was about to take care of my mom. My sister Eileen was prepared to walk from Brooklyn if she had to be by my mother's side. My brother Peter, he actually was there any time that she called. All my brothers and sisters joined together to ensure that our mother pain was minimized. My mother received the same love she gave to so many people. Amen. From those she loved the most. That was great. My last brother, Andrew, when he came to America, he lost his faith in religion, or whatever trials he was going through, or whatever philosophical books that he was reading. One day he came to visit my mom, as he told me, and my mom asked him, because she was concerned about his spiritual life. He told her that he no longer believed in the concept of creation, that this was just a Nancy story. My mother said in her Ma Regie style, Andrew, my dear boy, behind every building, isn't there a builder? Behind every vehicle, isn't there an engineer? Even in the case of computers, isn't there a Bill Gates? Even the birds and the animals know that there's a creator. And you telling me you're supposed to be an intelligent boy, and you do not even know that there is a creator behind creation? Tibai, Tie called over. Which meant that, boy, move yourself in front of me before you get me mad. On Friday, Andrew visited my mother and he saw her in the state that she was. She was in a kind of semi-conscious condition. He held her hand and he said, Mama, I want to make you a promise that the truth is I will do everything that you taught me to make sure that I meet with you at the pearly gates.
Amen.
He told me that he felt my mom squeeze his hands. She was kind of semi-conscious, but he actually felt she squeezed his hands, which clearly meant that she heard him. And that is all she was waiting for before her days of suffering, to hear from her last boy. May we all meet my mom at that pearly gate.